Welcome back to the New Music Alliance Radio Hour. I'm David Sokol, and I'm here with Ace House Thor and Mark Sherry, and our special guest, Danny Bernini. We just heard Sun Parade, Need You By My Side, from, I think it might be their first album, very early Sun Parade record from 2012, I think, maybe?
Yes, that's right. That's right.
And we started the set with El Sapel Barbie by Andrew Jones and SpiritHouse, which it's a track that you play on, right, Danny?
That's right. Yeah. I played bass guitar on that one and little other stuff. Played some electric guitar.
Wow.
And SpiritHouse is a band that I've been in for a long time. That's where the name for the studio came from. And it's a band that was started by my friend Andrew Jones, who I met in the Bahamas, singer-songwriter from the Bahamas. He came up to Longview Farm, where I used to work, and did some recordings with me. And I started bringing in some local area guys to play on the recordings. And pretty much everybody that came in to play on those recordings ended up being part of this band for the last, 25 or more years. I think it's 30 years now. But anyways, we mostly only play in the Bahamas, which is like a couple of times a year we go down there and play. Andrew's had like a couple mini hits down there. So when we go down there, everybody knows all the songs and we pack the house and it's a blast. And it's a family, there's like probably 15 people or so that have kind of revolved around SpiritHouse, different, whatever drummers available, that kind of thing. And it's a real family. We get together and it's really about getting together and hanging out and catching up as much as it is, playing the music. And it's really special to us. We've made 3 records and we're all super proud of them. And yeah, we love it.
And again, that's your studio, SpiritHouse Recording in Northampton, Massachusetts, which I'm sure many of our listeners will want to know more about after hearing all the great stuff you've done.
Well, thank you.
So after we heard El Sapel Barbie, which you told us off air, I guess was a little surprised about where that came from. So why don't you share that with our listeners there?
That it's about a Barbie doll?
Yes, about a Barbie doll.
Yeah.
He's in love with a Barbie doll. Okay.
Yeah. My friend Andrew lives on a small island in the Bahamas called Cat Island, beautiful island, and he doesn't have any neighbors for miles. And we had this whole idea about making a video of this Barbie doll washing up on the shore and him falling in love with the Barbie doll and then like having dinner with it and all this different stuff. But then he got a little too creeped out and got chickened out. So we bailed on the idea.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I still want to know, being a child of the 60s, whether the title of that song does have anything to do with an early Barbra Streisand album from 1966.
It's possible. I'd have to ask Andrew about that.
But your album is called Dream Palace. Great title.
Right. Yes. That's another thing Andrew came up with. There was a venue in New Orleans that Andrew went to, and he saw artist named Exuma, the Obia man, who became a very big influence. Yeah, so he's an artist from the Bahamas who also has performed on some SpiritHouse records and things, and big inspiration to Andrew. And the first time that he ever saw him was at this place called the Dream Palace in New Orleans, and I think it might have even been during Jazz Fest. So anyways, that's the cover photo on the album, is the actual Dream Palace.
That's so cool. And then after that, we had actually Sun Parade, Need You By My Side, which is so brilliantly constructed. There's so much going on there, but it's all very subtly done. I love it.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you very much. Yeah. That is the very first thing that Paul and I produced with Chris, and that with Chris Jennings, the lead singer of Sun Parade. It's him and Jeff Lewis. But Chris was a solo artist when we first started that, and that was one of the first things that we did. So we worked that up, from the ground up. When we first heard that song, it was Chris playing it to us in the backyard of the studio on a ukulele, just him singing it. And then we worked on the arrangement. Him and Paul worked on arrangement and lyrics and stuff a lot, kind of tightened it all up. And then we went into the studio, and I played the drums and bass on that. And Chris and Paul played a bunch of the other instruments, keyboards, and Chris played the ukulele and acoustic guitars and things, and did all those background vocals and everything. Him and Paul did a lot of that stuff. But anyways, yeah, we were really excited when that song got so much airplay, and that also was a song of the year when that came out on the river, and their video for that got a ton of plays as well. So it's pretty exciting, and we've always been very proud of that. And it's been really fun to watch the Sun Parade grow from that point. Like that was, like I said, that was Chris when he was first starting out, really. And then he got involved with Jeff Lewis, who is awesome. And the two of them together have the most amazing harmonies. So the second half of that first record, Yosis, was with Jeff. We started getting more of a band sound together, and then just watching those guys develop over the years has been a real dream. It's really fun to watch. It's fun to watch any of these young kids that we work with develop and come up with more new stuff. And we're actually really excited because we're working on some new stuff with them right now. So, and we haven't done that in probably 10 years. So we're excited about that.
Danny, I'm just so blown away by the variety of music that you've been involved with. It's really remarkable. This set list today is such a great example of just the range of your work and what you've done.
Yeah, well, that's what keeps it exciting. We literally within the same year we'll have some jazz records and some folk records, and then some hair metal 80s bombastic metal records. So it really runs the gamut, and I love that. It keeps it exciting. And honestly, ever since I was a kid, I've always loved all kinds of music. So I grew up listening to a lot of like folk things with my older sister, Arlo Guthrie, and things like that, and going to see them, and then also being into AC/DC, so it really ran the gamut. I also grew up in the Kiss era.
I wanted to ask you, in terms of bands or artists that you've recorded, are there other sort of notable non-local artists that our listeners should be aware of that you've worked with to look out for?
Sure. I mean, well, when I lived in New York, I worked at a studio called the Hit Factory, and just the nature of that place, it was a different star through the door every single day. So my resume kind of back then really blew up just from that. I had within like 2 years, I had worked with Paul Simon and David Lee Roth, and a whole bunch of things with Puff Daddy and Notorious B.I.G. and like lots of things like that back then. And then I started freelancing, and I went and made a record out in California with Maroon 5 when they were called Kara's Flowers. It was the first record they made. And it was that was their first record basically out of high school. They were just out of high school. And then it's all still the same band, but they changed their name to Maroon 5 after that. After they got signed to Warner Brothers. And then, and then I work with Ben Harper a lot. I've been touring with him for the last 5 years. We've toured all over the world. And I'm actually supposed to be on a world tour with him right now, but due to the current circumstances, that's not happening, but we were supposed to be all over the place. So yeah, that's a few of them.
Well, that's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
So for our last set, we're going to start it off with a song by Acoustic Junction, Oh Me, Oh My.